What's up, guys? It's Susie.
And Todd.
We're from HeyGrillHey.com, and today we're doing something a little different in our typical recipe video. What are we doing, Todd?
We're going to do an interview. I've written out some questions to ask Miss Susie here about BBQ Brawl.
BBQ Brawl.
What was BBQ Brawl?
Competition, Food Network. A lot of you guys watched it, a lot of you commented, and we wanted to give you a little behind the scenes peek on how things really went down on the show. Some fun little tips and tricks about the recipes that I cooked, and some questions from readers.
Awesome.
Let's do it!
So, hi. We had a lot of questions come in from you all, and I wanted to give Susie an opportunity to answer these questions with a one-on-one interview with me, her husband. But really, it's your questions. So
Because Todd already knows all the answers.
So, Susie.
Yeah.
BBQ Brawl, Flay versus Simon.
Yep.
Talk about how you got on the show. How did that happen?
That's a great question. I was actually reached out to by one of the producers of the show. She asked if I would be interested and available for a barbecue competition TV show. I've applied for a couple of these in the past, like Chopped, Grill Masters. We've turned down a few. A few haven't worked out, so I said yes, and one thing led to another. A couple of interviews, a long process of working out contracts, and I was on the show.
How did you feel? Because you knew, like a few days before you went out, you found out it would be Michael Simon too, like Flay versus Simon. What was going through your mind?
I didn't know the actual layout of the show. I didn't know what the structure of the show was going to be, but I knew there were going to be some top quality pit masters and, of course, 2 Iron Chefs. So that was a little bit scary, but I was excited.
Okay. So you fly out. Our cat's joining us. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just wants to be a part of the show.
All right.
Put him. I can't talk to you like this. Put the cat down. So you fly out to
Texas, Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas.
Just outside of Austin, a place called Star Hill Ranch.
They provided a ride for you from the airport, correct? Uh-huh. Who rode in that car with you?
Well, they told me, just wait, we're going to come pick you up, but there's somebody else that's coming in at the same time that needs a ride.
Right.
Lo and behold, in the van at the airport was Leann with it.
Wow. So you rode to the airport, or from the airport to the hotel?
With Leann.
With Leann.
But we weren't allowed to speak to each other. So I knew who she was. We introduced ourselves. We exchanged names. She didn't know who I was.
Yeah, she didn't know if she was a host or a judge or
Yeah, I had no idea how she was a part of the show.
So then the next morning, you go downstairs. You still don't know where you're going yet.
No, but
So-
we're all told to meet in the lobby of the hotel at a certain time, and I walk in and there's everybody. Everybody is there. I mean, Chris Lilly, Mo Cason, Amy Mills, Tuffy Stone. I knew one person that I had actually met in real life was Joe from Slabs Barbecue, and I'd also met Chris Lilly, both in Kansas City. Everyone
same
else,
trip, right?
Yeah, everyone else I knew of, but I hadn't actually met.
That's crazy. So she shot me a text real quick. I don't know if that was okay or not. Just freaking out about she didn't drop names. And she just was freaking out about who was in the room with her and who she might be up against in this thing. And then the depth of all this hit her pretty.
I was very nervous. At that point, once I realized the scale of this show and the caliber of the people that were going to be competing on this show, that's when I started to get a little bit like pukey.
All right, let's get into the actual show, episode 1. And the first thing we saw was this digital challenge.
Right.
So tell us about that taste test and what was going through your mind.
So for each episode of the show, FoodNetwork.com ran a digital series for BBQ Brawl. So they had mini challenges during, like, the day of the actual challenges. Before we could cook anything, they rolled out these digital challenges.
So that was, you got there, and before you filmed the episode, you had to do the digital challenge.
Exactly.
Okay.
And there was one of those for each episode, and whoever won the digital challenge earned an advantage of some kind during the main episode. They didn't actually show you what those advantages were during the main episode, but if you watched the digital challenge, then you kind of knew who had a leg up in that particular episode. And the very first challenge was a taste test. Blindfolded, 10 ingredients, and we could smell, we could use our fingers, we could taste, but we could not look and see what that was. And we had 10 seconds to guess what they were. And I actually won the first digital challenge. I got 6, 8?
I can't
6.
remember.
I got 6 out of the 10 ingredients right. So I walked away the winner, and my advantage that time was deciding if I wanted my food to be tasted first or last.
Why does that
during
give
the initial
you
challenge.
an advantage?
In competitions like this, you always want your food to be tasted first. It's going to be the most hot, the freshest, the way that you prepared it and the way that you wanted it to taste. So I went with first.
Episode 4, Leann won taste first. That was frustrating.
That was
And it played into the
a
game.
big
It was a
advantage.
huge advantage. Okay. What did you cook? So then the Iron Chefs cooked against each other to
Yep.
gain an advantage for their team, right? We won't get into that. But talk about watching them cook real quick. Watching the Iron Chefs cook. How was that?
So something really exciting about the show is you've seen barbecue competition shows before, and it's always competitors cooking against each other, right? But in this particular show, Bobby Flay and Michael Simon, they cooked against each other to earn advantages for their team. And in the first episode, they cooked for the right to choose first when they started to divvy out their teams. So we got to see them cook, and we were sitting just a couple of feet away from Michael Simon and Bobby Flay, which is unreal. Anyway, we hadn't really spent a lot of time with them up to this point in the show. This is our first introduction, and we get to watch them cook. They have to do a chicken challenge in 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And the flavors that they were coming up with, the way that they utilized the grills, the way that they utilized the heat was incredibly impressive. And one tip that Michael Simon gave to all of us that were standing there that was so useful, he said, pay attention to everything the judges say when they're eating my food, because they will tell you exactly what they like and exactly what types of flavors they're looking for. So we heard the judges say things like, ooh, I wish this had more seasoning, or I really want to taste the char on the grill. Char,
Oh my
char,
gosh.
and seasoning. So those were 2 big takeaways. Very early on in the competition, we learned that particular set of judges, those were flavor profiles that they were looking for in this competition. So it kind of changed some of the strategies and the ways that I cooked my food by getting to sit behind and watch them cook.
Awesome. So then you guys had to cook against each other, or just cook your dish so that they could try your dish and pick who they wanted on their team, right?
Right. So we had a short cook time, and the challenge was a 1-bite challenge. I think I may have misinterpreted what a 1-bite challenge meant. I thought I needed to make something that
bite.
could be eaten in 1 bite, an appetizer and amuse-bouche and hors d'oeuvre, kind of as
What?
portion size.
A boost?
An amuse-bouche, 1 bite. Stop.
Who knows that word?
Okay, so I thought I needed to make a 1-bite thing. Everybody else interpreted that as they're gonna take 1 bite
Of their thing.
So we had people making full steak sandwiches. Carrie made an entire smoked hamburger that was like bigger than my face. And I show up with this tiny little meatball that I like stress overcooked because I was very nervous and it was my first challenge. I've never done anything timed before and it was terrible. And I overcooked my meatball.
Look.
And the cheese exploded.
Her meatballs are amazing, okay? That's what's crazy. Like,
I normally make really good meatballs.
Yeah.
But anyway,
okay.
The pressure got to me first challenge. I was very stressed. I overcooked it. And so when it came time for Michael Simon and Bobby Flay to pick teams, I got picked last. Very last.
oh well.
They told me that I should be fine with it, but the truth is that it was very nerve-wracking. But that's all right. It was funny. And so I learned a lot from that. And what I learned was don't take things so literally and so seriously when it comes to, you know, what the challenge name was. But to really focus on my flavors and really focus on my technique and how I was cooking what I was
How
cooking.
that represents you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So going into the next challenge, it was 45 minutes to just show the judges what my style of cooking was like. It was kind of no holds barred. We could cook whatever we wanted. So I made your favorite beer and mustard glazed pork tenderloin. I made the grilled asparagus that I made with my daughter all the time, and the skillet cornbread that our boys love. And then I made a honey pink peppercorn butter that Chris Lilly could not have gotten enough of, which was really delicious.
I still haven't tried that.
Todd hasn't tried it yet.
So you made the pork tenderloin.
Yeah.
Yum. You made it for us when we were dating. Mm-hmm. First thing you really ever cooked for me, like big awesome meal.
Yeah.
Awesome. Valentine's Day. You made the asparagus and the cornbread.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so what happened?
I made it. I wasn't even in the bottom 2 for the first elimination. So in my mind, I'm calling this a comeback.
Yeah.
So I got picked last, and then I ended up on Michael Simon's team, and I made it through the first episode. I wasn't even up for elimination. And I will tell you, the people that were up for elimination, this is a tight, stacked field. Kevin Bledsoe was on my team. He cooked ribs in an hour. So, I mean, if you're gonna go out, like, balls of glory, attempt ribs in an hour. That was amazing. It was an incredibly bold choice. I think it brought a lot of creativity to that overall challenge, and I think the judges respected that, but at the end of the day, he just charred the brown sugar a little bit too much for him. And then Joe from Kansas City, he was picked first, and he went home first. So I don't think anybody felt safe, and nobody felt comfortable during that first episode, especially during the judging. We kind of felt it was anyone's game. I mean, Joe went home because he didn't include enough sauce on his plate. Like, that is such a minor thing to go home for. So it was very scary. But we made it. Episode 2.
Digital challenge was
a relay race, a culinary prep relay race. So we had to cut biscuits, shuck corn, and make kebabs. We divided into teams. My team did not win.
No.
Tuffy, Leann, and Phil won the prep challenge. And then out of them, they had to break down a chicken, and then Phil won the chicken challenge, so he won an advantage in the main episode. And I don't remember what that was.
I don't either. If it didn't have to do with her, I'd stop paying attention.
I think he had Bobby's help for one of the cooks. Like, he had extra, like...
Yeah, something. Okay. So, the Iron Chefs cooked against each other.
Yeah. Episode 2 was Texas beef. So they had to cook a tomahawk ribeye, and they each took completely different approaches, and it was incredibly inspiring to watch.
Yeah, awesome. Did you get to try that one?
I did get to try some little scraps of Michael Simon's.
His was the pastrami.
Pastrami rubbed.
Yeah.
Yep, it was delicious.
Okay, who won?
Michael won that challenge. So the advantage that he won for his team in that challenge was...
Switch up.
He could switch one of his players for another player on Bobby's team. I was very nervous because, let's be honest, I wasn't chosen for his team. I was default assigned to his team by being the last person. So I thought I was going to get switched off of his team so that he could have somebody that he thought was stronger on his own team. But he displayed a little bit of faith, and he decided not to change out the teams at all. So
love you, Michael.
It worked out for me.
Okay, what'd you cook?
Beef challenge. We had 5 hours. I ran straight for the beef chuck ribs. I've cooked these before. I have a recipe for them on my website. But I wanted to do something that the judges would think was a little bit more memorable. So I used my coffee barbecue rub instead of my classic salt and pepper Texas rub. I made a coffee barbecue sauce. I introduced the judges to cowboy candy. They'd never had cowboy candy before, which is a candied jalapeno instead of a pickled jalapeno. So it gave them a little bit of sweetness with that super savory beef rib. I made
mac and cheese.
Oh, I did. I made my mac and cheese, and I added in some roasted poblano and some bacon. And I also made a coleslaw, which they didn't even show on the website or on the TV show, was my coleslaw, but it was good.
Oh well.
I also made pickled red onions. They didn't. I made too many things probably that episode, but I wanted to give the judges that Texas barbecue platter experience with, you know, like the little condiments and all the things.
It's my favorite barbecue experience.
Thank you.
Okay, what happened?
I did not get sent home again.
Not even up for
but we did have a mini challenge. The judges like to throw mini challenges during the long cooks. So I had to make a Tex-Mex taco. I was in the top 2 for the tacos, but I did not win the taco challenge. Unfortunate. Wait, I wasn't in the top 2. Who was the top? Oh,
you were.
I was in the bottom 3. Yeah. So Lene, Phil, and Leann
Yep.
were in the top 3 for their tacos, and I was in the bottom 3 for my tacos. I'm learning very rapidly that 30-minute challenges are not my bread and butter.
Yeah, but they're very important.
They're very important, but I can nail those long challenges real good.
Okay, so you're not up for elimination again.
Again, made it into the end of the night. We're standing in front of judges, and I'm the top of, there were 3 left on our team. They picked the bottom 2, and I was the only one that was safe. And at that point, I almost passed out. But I did not.
So at this point, so you could call me and let me know a little bit what was going on. And
Well, I had to let you know if I was coming home or not.
Yeah,
if
so-
I lose, they put me on a plane and send me home.
like, you called and let me know that you were safe. And you weren't even up for elimination. And I knew at that point that, like, this is a big deal for you, right? Are you
Yeah.
starting to feel like, hey, like, I'm starting to, like, show who I am here, right?
Definitely. I felt like
Especially with those beef ribs on an offset.
I was really proud of the beef ribs on an offset in Texas. The weather was not great, but we were able to maintain temps on those pits. They said that my beef ribs were a little bit tight. I didn't think so.
Personal preference.
And even Michael Simon, actually, they didn't show this, but he was like, I tried them, they were perfect. We like our ribs with a little bit bite. They wanted them softer. That's, again,
Well, in a lot of the judging, it could have been that the other 2 judges said positive things about your ribs, and Mo said the negative thing.
Right.
But just for whatever reason, like for show purposes,
exactly.
They edit
every one of
Mo's.
the judges says positives and negatives about every dish. So you never know what's actually going to make it onto the show.
Okay.
But I'm safe. Episode 3.
Episode 3.
Digital challenge, another taste test.
Oh yeah.
We had to do barbecue sauce taste test and name the ingredients in the barbecue sauce, and I won that one too. I believe my
problem.
quote in that episode was, "Can this entire show just be me tasting things and telling you what they are?" Because I feel like I'd be really good at that. I'd win in a landslide. So episode 3, Bobby and Michael had to cook off again.
Well, what's the theme of the episode?
Regional barbecue. So Santa Maria, California, Kansas City, North Carolina, Alabama, Memphis. We already did Texas in the previous show, so that wasn't on this particular list. But Bobby and Michael had to cook off against each other, and they had to do a North Carolina style pork sandwich. They took very different approaches, very different flavors, both incredibly delicious. Bobby won the advantage that time, which was very surprising to me, honestly, because he used Texas toast and a pulled tenderloin. Like, his approach was so radical, but the judges loved it. He won the advantage, and his advantage for that day was to assign
the
regions of barbecue to each of the remaining 4 competitors. And so I was assigned Santa Maria because he thought I would be at a disadvantage cooking a tri-tip.
Bobby.
And I actually laughed when he gave me that one, and I was very grateful. And he was like, "Oh, I thought you would maybe not know about that." And I was like, "I cook tri-tips every week." That's the one I wanted. But if you watch the show back, it makes me look like I'm concerned and disappointed. I don't know, they edited it very funnily, but I was very excited about that.
But you'd never use a Santa Maria grill.
I'd never, but it's just charcoal and the great raises and lowers. It's pretty straightforward in terms of fire management and heat control, so
No,
I felt
Santa
really
Maria,
confident.
It's very difficult, and you're incredible, and you're the best region. Okay.
Todd makes everybody happy.
That marinade on the tri-tip, no one can do it like you.
I don't even think they marinate it.
Oh, they marinate it.
Okay, so I had to cook a Santa Maria style. Leann was assigned to Alabama. She's my teammate on Michael's team. And let me tell you, I don't think anybody in the world would choose to cook Alabama white sauce chicken
For Chris Lilly. His father-in-law? Who was it? Invented the sauce or something?
Yeah, he runs the restaurant where the sauce was created. So that was a bit of a challenge. And then we also had a mini challenge during that time. We had to cook, I just blacked
Chicken
out.
wings.
Oh, we had a chicken wing challenge. Yeah, so in the middle of our regional barbecue challenge, we were thrown additional mini challenge, which was chicken wings. And
Man down.
I did drop a chicken wing. I did my smoked and fried chicken wings. That's a recipe that I have on my site. I use all the time. I did a Memphis style dry rub on those, and I shook it in my brown sugar sweet barbecue seasoning. And I actually took second place for those ribs.
I think she would have taken
I was in the
first.
top 2 for those.
Listen, this is what. So when they tasted your food, when they tasted your wings, you were like second to last, and so they sat there and weren't as crispy.
They were very, very crispy when we first started, but as with anything that's fried, the longer it sits, it doesn't hold that crunchy crunch anymore.
You're talking 15, 20 minutes. It probably sat there, right?
At least.
Yeah.
So it was definitely. I think that put me at a slight disadvantage, but it's okay. And the advantage that I earned from the digital series was having Michael help me during that mini challenge. So he wasn't like actually cooking with me, but he was offering advice, giving me tips. He came and tasted my wings, and I kid you not, seeing him with like sweet rub and chicken all over his face and fingers was maybe one of the highlights of the show for me.
Okay. So move on. What'd you cook for the Santa Maria challenge?
Santa Maria challenge, I did a red wine shallot marinated tri-tip. I smoked it first on the offset and then finished it on the Santa Maria grill to get the judges that nice char that they like on the outside. I made a smoked refried black bean on the bottom, and then I made a roasted corn and avocado salad on top, and then I actually reduced the marinade, turned it into an emulsion, and used that as a sauce over the top. Boom. Sprinkled the tri-tip with a little extra salt because the judges love the seasoning. And
did you get enough char on it?
I did. I made it through to the finale episode.
What?
And Leann's chicken was beautiful, you guys. Her entire platter was absolutely beautiful. So it wasn't somebody messed up or the food was off or wrong. It was just that night was my night.
Chris Lilly lauded her sauce.
He did. Everybody had positive things to say about her food.
But she salted her potato salad too much.
I think that was just a little bit, and that was enough that day. So that was tough competition, you guys. But making it into the finale was terrifying.
So one thing that you talked to me about that was interesting was you, like for that, because that dish specifically, the judges said like as a whole it's fantastic, but like maybe not enough pop in one bite kind of a thing.
Right.
Because like you said, you were cooking for someone who wanted to eat a meal. You weren't cooking for the one bite, right? And
that's one thing that's really interesting. And competition barbecue folks know this. You cook for one bite. That's all the judges are going to take. I've never cooked like that in my life. I cook that we're going to sit down and we're going to have a meal together, and we're going to be able to enjoy this whole plate of food, and it's going to be delicious and balanced. It's not going to be overpowering, but everything's going to taste really good. And the other competitors in this show know that you want that one bite. So I think they were a little bit more willing to be aggressive in those seasonings than I was. And anyway, so I got lucky with that one. And I think the reason that I got lucky was because the way that I plated it. The beans were on the bottom, the tri-tip was shingled on top, and that beautiful corn salad was stacked even higher on there. So it was a very three-dimensional plate, but there was no way that you could just eat one piece at a time. It was designed to be eaten all together in one bite.
All right, well, they loved it. You moved on to the finale. Finale episode. You made it to the finale.
And who was in the finale?
Leann.
Like full circle. But also 2 women in the finale of a show like this in the type of cuisine that this is. Barbecue has historically been very male dominated, and there have been a few women that have really risen up and were able to shine in that space, and Leann was one of those for me. We watched Barbecue Pitmasters a decade ago, right? Yeah. Like even before we were really into barbecue ourselves. And as I started growing my business and realizing that there are other women out there in this space doing a really great job, being respected and making amazing food and making a name for themselves, it kind of gave me the courage that like, okay, we can do this. And so to be cooking with Leann in the finale was, it felt very serendipitous to me. It felt very like full circle, and I was honored to be there cooking with her, and also terrified because she can cook amazing food.
Absolutely.
So we had one more final challenge, digital, before the show actually started, and it was a prep challenge. And it was grating cheese, peeling potatoes, and what was the last thing?
Assembling a pork sandwich. I don't remember.
That was the third thing.
It doesn't matter. Leann was a machine and she won. Whatever.
Leann was a machine. She won an advantage, however, and her advantage was that her food was able to be tasted first.
Huge.
All night long. So for 4 dishes, her food was tasted first.
All the challenges, everything.
So that had a big thing to do with the rest of the episode. So.
Yeah. So that.
Good for her. I cut my finger.
You cut your finger a lot, but they didn't show it.
They were nice, but they did show me cut it in the digital challenge with a potato peeler. And that just goes to show you, like, being a restaurant cook and having that time on the line is very useful. I don't really have that experience. If I'm cooking at home, I can take my time and peel my potatoes and not cut my finger.
Yep. I don't care about speed. I care about flavor.
So she earned that one. She earned that win. She beat me by like 1/10 of a second. It was really close.
So Iron Chefs didn't compete against each other on this one, right?
No, we went straight into the final cook in the finale episode
Which
because
was
whole hog in a
Holy
cinder
crap.
block pit. 65-pound, beautiful, beautiful hogs. And Michael, Simon, and Bobby Flay were our sous chefs, so they had to help us cook the entire time. Leann took a more direct approach to leading Bobby through the kitchen, and if any of you watched the finale episode, that was actually real. I think the highlight of the entire day was Michael Simon just loving every minute of Bobby Flay being bossed around by Leann. Like, that just made his whole life. He was, every time he looked over there and Bobby looked scared, he was so happy. And so that was fantastic. Michael has cooked a lot more pigs than me. I had the technique and the recipes. He helped me so much with execution and actually like carrying the pig and getting all the injections done and finishing, you know, it was a fantastic.
The final taste of the injection.
Exactly. Yep. I feel like we worked really well as a team together, and he was an amazing mentor. I learned so much. So much.
Cool. So going into this, I know people ask all the time, and I'm not going to save this for rapid fire because people ask, like, did they tell you in advance that you were going to cook a whole hog?
No. We didn't know anything that we were going to be cooking on the show. We didn't know what was going to be in the pantry. We didn't know time limits. We didn't know anything. So we went in quite blind.
Cool.
I had a feeling that there was going to be a whole hog because they asked in the interview, would you be comfortable cooking a whole hog? Would you be comfortable cooking ribs in 2 hours? Would you be comfortable? Like, they asked a myriad of questions. But just the fact that they asked about a whole hog made me slightly suspicious. But who knows when, in what episode that was going to happen, if it was going to happen.
Yeah.
So no, I wasn't aware, but anything was a possibility on the show.
Okay, so you talk about how, because I had this question. I was concerned about you having to keep the coals going and everything, but
Right.
There was a team that kept coals going. You just had to manage the heat, right?
So we did have hot coals ready for us at all times, and we were responsible for distributing them in our pits and maintaining all of our pit temperatures. Nobody was putting anything into our pits. We had to do that.
Okay, so firing up the pit, or wait, no, you didn't do that. You did the pig first.
Well, we got coals in the pit so that they would be up to temperature. Right. Took the pigs over, prepped the pig. I did an injection with my sweet rub, apple juice, apple cider vinegar, and then coated the entire thing in my sweet rub. And we put a salt crust on the top of the pig because I really wanted that crispy skin. I don't think you can do whole hog if you're not eating the skin.
Oh.
So we coated the skin in a nice thick layer of moistened salt and a little bit of paprika to see if we could kind of enhance the color because it was going to be under the salt crust for so long of the skin itself. So we got that on to the pit, belly side down, closed it up.
People
rock and roll.
They were concerned about that belly side down thing.
Yes, they
Leann,
were.
the judges, everyone.
Yes. I was not super concerned about it going belly down because the hog that I had cooked in the past, we went belly side up, and I actually thought it was more of like a stewed pork. It was very juicy, which is fantastic, but it was more of a braised pig than a smoked pig. I wanted a lot of bark, I wanted crispy skin, and I wanted that smoke flavor to be very prevalent.
Okay, so you put sweet rub in the injection. Mm-hmm. I feel like they showed that, and it was foreshadowing, because during the judging, Chris Lilly mentioned that
he didn't like the flavor. He got a little pocket of it, and he didn't love it, which is fine.
Whatever, okay. Anyway, talk to us about how you felt when Leann's pig started on fire.
It was one of those things where your instant reaction is like, what? Oh no, what happened? Because my biggest fear was that would happen to me. Her pig started on fire. We're cooking in identical pits with identical fuel, with identical pigs. Like, am I gonna start my pig on fire? For her, she said it was airflow. She was worried her cinder block pit wasn't airtight enough. I thought it was fat that had dripped down from her foil and she'd caused a flare up. So I was pretty concerned that at some point I was going to have a pit fire also, but we were able to get by okay.
And they only showed one flare up.
She did have a second pit fire, yeah.
So.
But she had the water on hand. She was ready. She got it out so quick. She was such a pro. But the problem is, okay, so we had another mini challenge while we were cooking the whole hog. We had to cook the judges' breakfast, right?
Yeah.
So not only did Leann get to deliver her breakfast first and the judges were able to eat that hot, I had delivered my breakfast burritos. They're sitting in front of the judges when Leann's pit starts on fire and everything stops. So my burritos sat there for an additional 10 plus minutes while everybody was watching Leann's pit fire, unfortunately. So the judges...
hash browns were still crispy.
The hash browns were still very crispy, which is fantastic.
Beef tallow.
I loved my breakfast burritos. It had some flaws. There was extra crispy tortillas on the outside.
They wanted char?
Maybe it was a little too much. But Leann won the breakfast burrito challenge. Womp womp. And then the next challenge that they threw at us was a sandwich for lunch. And Leann went burger. I mean, burger. It's kind of genius though, if you think about it. Who doesn't love a good burger? And you got Bobby Flay on your team, cook a burger. Yeah. Michael and I took it a little less traditional. We did a barbecue style banh mi. They wish the pork belly wasn't cut as thick. I liked it. But we made some beautiful pickled vegetables.
It wasn't a bacon banh mi, it was a pork belly banh mi.
It was super, they wish the pork belly was cut a little bit more thin. Is that what I said?
Yeah, but then it's just bacon.
It was very delicious. I thought everybody liked it, but they liked Leann's burger more. She also won the lunch challenge. Womp womp.
Womp womp.
And then we go into the final judging and we're also asked to provide a side dish. So I made my Mexican style grilled corn and they wanted a dessert. So I made my bacon apple crisp. And what they didn't show you guys at the judging was that my bacon apple crisp actually won the challenge. So I did win one of the challenges that day. I beat Leann's grilled pineapple with my bacon apple crisp. And it was really good. So... there's that. And then judging, they judged the pigs. We sat around the table. It was a very awesome experience to sit face to face, eat each other's food, because for me that's what barbecue's all about, is we sit down and we share the food, right?
I thought that was cool.
And we have it all together.
You and Leann got to eat each other's food.
Yeah, that was amazing, because we didn't get to eat anybody else's stuff the rest of the competition. So to be able to sit down and share that meal together was great.
I feel like the one negative thing they put out of your mouth on camera was when you're like, I don't know how her pork tasted good.
And not because her flavors were bad, but because her pit was on fire twice.
Yeah.
I honestly believed there was going to be at least some resemblance of that acrid flare-up fire flavor, but there wasn't, and I think she saved herself by wrapping that pig in foil. Honestly, awesome. I think it really protected her pig, and I think she was very strategic and very smart about what she put on the plate. And so what we were able to eat, you wouldn't have known. If you didn't see the pig fire, you would never have known.
It's awesome.
So I was genuinely surprised that it tasted great. Like, it was a delicious pig. It was.
Okay,
all credit to Leann. It was very delicious food.
How did it end?
It ended with, spoiler alert if you haven't watched yet, Leann won Master of Kill! Don't be sad.
It's okay.
I wasn't even sad. I really was so happy for Leann. She worked so hard for that pig and she hustled all day and her food was delicious. And it was hard for me to be sad because I was just so happy to be there.
That was awesome.
The experience itself was amazing. What I learned from Michael Simon and Bobby Flay is worth more than anything that I could have ever earned from winning the show. And the caliber of chefs that I got to cook with on the show and the pitmasters that were there, like, the experience was unparalleled. And so I knew going into the finale episode, win or lose, I was thrilled that I had the experience. And so the reactions were genuine. How I felt for Leann was genuine. And I was so happy for her. It just completely overshadowed any doubt that or disappointment that I had felt about losing.
And it wasn't rigged.
People think, yeah, everyone likes, I know. You guys, I love you so much. Thank you for all of your support and believing in the food that I make and the food that I cook. You guys are fantastic. I don't think it was rigged. I think Leann just had a really good day. And sometimes you just get a really good day. Maybe it was her lucky pig necklace. I don't know.
She won the challenges. She put really good pork on the plate.
Yep.
She deserves the win.
Yep.
It's awesome. Okay, rapid fire. Is the countdown intense?
Like when we're finished, when everybody's getting ready to plate?
No, like when they say, your challenge starts now, go.
Yes, we scramble, and the timer is real. A lot of people have asked that question. So But it's interesting the way they set it up. So they do what's called a false start. And it's kind of this camera trick where you say, okay, ready, set, go. We run, they stop filming because they need to read us the official rules. Once we know what the challenge is, we have no idea what the challenge is until they tell us. They tell us, say go, we hit pause, nobody's cooking, nobody's moving, nobody's going to the pantry. They read us the rules and then we get to go. And the time starts and it's running and it's for real and we're actually cooking and it's very scary.
Okay, so it's actually 30 minutes.
It's actually 30 minutes of cook time. Yep. The clock, there's an official time clock that everyone can see. It's up and there's a camera on the time clock the entire time to make sure that it doesn't change or isn't altered or anything.
So this is a legit timed competition.
It's legitimately timed.
Cool. What was the pantry like?
Terrifying. So, I mean, nothing is where you think it's going to be. All of the chilled things are in coolers and they rotate out what's in the coolers between every challenge. So we never knew what protein was going to be in the coolers. We never knew, you know, if we were going to have the right kind of dairy, if we were going to have the right kind of butter or herbs or whatever it was. And a lot of times there was a limited supply per day. So when it's gone, it's gone. So if we used all of everything in a 30-minute challenge and we wanted it for our bigger, longer cook and it wasn't there, it wasn't there.
Okay, so that leads into the next question. How did you come up with these recipes on the fly like that then? Like,
luckily, I like recipes a lot. And since that's what I do for a living is I develop recipes, I cook recipes. I have an arsenal for pretty much everything and I know the time that it's gonna take. So I feel like that was actually something that was very much to my advantage was that I do recipes. I don't do competition barbecue where it's the same 4 meats all the time. I don't do a restaurant where it's a set menu. I get to be creative every day in this job that we do here at Hey Grill Hey, and I think that was definitely an advantage.
Perfect. Okay, let's see. How was it working with Bobby and Michael? Like, spill the beans. Like, is Bobby, a lot of people like have a negative view of Bobby. Like,
I think Bobby is awesome. I think they're both awesome. And one thing that was really exciting about this show is you got to see Bobby and Michael together, and they truly are best friends. I think they made this show so that they could hang out.
I didn't even know that. Before you went on the show, I had no idea that they were that good of friends.
They're fantastic
like
friends.
25 years history, like they're really good friends.
They've been friends forever, and they've cooked with each other and they've never cooked against each other though.
Yeah.
Not on Iron Chef, not on any other TV. They've never cooked against each other in a competition. So this was the first chance that Food Network viewers got to see both of them in a cook-off against each other. I think they're incredibly well matched. Their styles are so different, and their personalities are very different. Michael is very Midwest. He's open, he's laid back, he's laughy, everything's easy. Bobby is a little bit more rigid and structured, and I think that's just his New York attitude. But I don't think he was never like demeaning or mean or critical or anything. If anything, he was incredibly nice, like especially to me that was such a rookie and so new and just starting out. He was so kind, truly.
Talk about, because this was my favorite thing when you came home and you were talking to me, how he like came over and ate like a whole burrito.
Yeah.
You know, and he would taste your food and was very like generous with compliments.
Yeah, he would come, and Michael did too. They would go between each other's teams and they would see what other people were cooking and try everybody's food, and he really was so nice. And he really did eat a whole one of those breakfast burritos. I think Bobby maybe thought that we should have won the breakfast challenge also.
Oh, wow.
He'll never say.
Let's wrap this up.
Okay, did we do all the questions people had?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me double check. Yeah.
Okay. It's very official.
Wrap this up and talk about how you feel like this is going to help you improve and move forward, and just like how or what this whole experience meant to you.
Being my first ever time really competing in a platform like this, to have made it to the finale is a massive, massive testament, I feel, to the amount of work that I've been doing over the last several years. I really do take a lot of pride in the recipes that I make. I really do take a lot of pride in the food that I cook, and this just gave me an opportunity to show that to people. I mean, of course, our followers know. The people that come to our site and cook our recipes know. But in the bigger world of barbecue, the competition world, the restaurant world, nobody really knows who we are because we don't make food for those people, right?
Yeah.
We make food for the backyard people, the home cooks. And so I think as part of this show, a lot of home cooks got to watch this. And a lot of home cooks got to say like, oh, I relate to her. She cooks for her family. She cooks for people that she loves. This is food that she makes, and I can make it too. And so for me to kind of have that opportunity to share what we believe in here at Hey Grill Hey, like that anybody can be a backyard barbecue hero, like you can elevate your game, you can feed people awesome food. We were able to show that to people through the show, and that was an amazing, amazing opportunity, and I'm so glad I did it.
I feel like that's what a lot of people latched onto.
Yeah.
That you were relatable and they just loved watching you. They loved your personality, everything.
Well, because I'm just like all of us, right? We're just backyard home cooks who like making awesome food.
I mean, you're like a step up, but you know.
I spend too much time doing it, that's why.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. If you guys want any of the recipes that I made on BBQ Brawl, we have almost all of them on our website, heygrillhey.com. We actually are creating a BBQ Brawl page with links to all of the recipes that we cooked in the show. It's going to be linked in the description of the video. So make sure you click through, check that out. Head to the webpage, get all of the things that you want to try at home, become a backyard barbecue hero, and feed those dang people that you love. So that's what barbecue's all about.
Like me, you love me.
I feed Todd all the time.